Thank you, Chairman. House Republicans have met the moment on the border. We've passed numerous bills to help secure our border, including H.R. 2, the Secure the Border Act of 2023. But we also have a lot of bipartisan support for our bills. We've passed off the House floor 12 bipartisan bills that help us fix the border. Recently, we passed the No Bailout for Sanctuary Cities Act, my bill, which would ensure that sanctuary cities do not get additional funding for the problems they're creating. But today we have another opportunity to ensure a more secure border and hopefully get votes from both sides of the aisle on a very good common sense bill called the Tren de Aragua Southwest Border Security Threat Assessment Act. Tren de Aragua, an international criminal organization dubbed MS-13 on steroids, has arrived here at our doorstep and poses a direct threat to the safety of Americans everywhere. Tren de Aragua, or TDA for short, is an extremely violent transnational criminal organization that originated as a prison gang in Venezuela in the state of Aragua. Over the past few years, their reach has extended beyond Venezuela's borders and into our own neighborhoods as they seek to exploit weakness at our southwest border. In fact, since fiscal year 2021, nearly 870,000 Venezuelans have been encountered by U.S. Customs and Border Protection nationwide, and over 117,000 of them have been flown into the interior of the United States under this administration's mass parole program. Just think about that for a moment. This administration is facilitating the invasion of America. And within this group of 117,000 unvetted Venezuelan nationals are members of TDA who pose an imminent danger to our communities. This isn't just a talking point for politicians and cable news. It's a threat like never been seen before. It's here and it's real. Shockingly, a recent incident saw over 100 suspected TDA members cross our border in a single event, and they were not just crossing. They assaulted multiple law enforcement agents as they rushed the border. It's clear to me, Mr. Chairman, that TDA is not afraid to use violence to achieve their objectives, and this makes them a direct threat not only to our communities, but to those who have sworn to protect us. Recent reporting by the New York Times detailed how this gang has emerged as a new menace in New York City, where TDA's presence is becoming more and more apparent every day. They are operating within migrant shelters across New York City, where they recruit new members and operate with little to no oversight. In fact, in June, a 19-year-old Venezuelan migrant who admitted to being a member of TDA shot 2 police officers when they tried to pull him over while he was riding a scooter. Despite efforts by local and federal law enforcement to keep track of these criminals, the number of TDA members who have been arrested are just the tip of the iceberg. Currently, the NYPD has identified 24 confirmed TDA members in the city's criminal gang database, but we know the actual number is much, much higher. The TDA gang has members hide in plain sight. They communicate through encrypted messaging, and they move silently, making it incredibly difficult for law enforcement to track them down. But let's be clear here. They're not just isolated incidents of these crimes. They're part of a larger organized efforts to destabilize our communities. That's why my legislation is so needed. My legislation would require the Department of Homeland Security to conduct a comprehensive Southwest border threat assessment that would identify the criminal threats posed by TDA members who have entered our country and the threat posed by TDA members seeking to enter the United States illegally. It also mandates that DHS develop a strategic plan to mitigate these threats and prevent TDA from proliferating into the United States. We need a proactive approach, one that recognizes the evolving tactics of these criminal organizations. Texas Governor Greg Abbott recently designated TDA as a foreign terrorist organization, recognizing the severity of the threat. It's time for us, Mr. Chairman, to follow suit with decisive action that puts the safety of American citizens first. New Yorkers, particularly those in my district on Long Island, have experienced firsthand the terror inflicted by criminal organizations like MS-13. We must not allow TDA to establish a foothold in the United States and bring a similar wave of violence. I want to thank my good friends and colleagues on this committee, Congressman Diaz-Esposito and Correa, for partnering with me on introducing these bipartisan legislation. Let's send a clear message today. The United States will not be a safe haven for violent criminal organizations like TDA. I urge all of my colleagues to join me in supporting this legislation to protect our communities, defend our borders, and ensure that American safety always comes first. Thank you, Chairman. I yield back.